Do you want to make 100x or more during this next bull market? Well, guys, obviously you do, because I do as well. However, if you're not already 60 to 100% up in your overall portfolio this year, you're doing it wrong. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why you're doing it wrong and why you need to watch yourself like a hawk. As well as that, I'm going to explain what I would be doing to build my portfolio right now, including a few of the coins that I've been looking at, in order to be able to see the best gains possible going forward. Hit the like button and let's get into it, guys. So the reason you should be at least 60% or 100% up this year or more is because phase one of the market, which we're in right now, in my opinion, is Bitcoin. And why is that important? Well, guys, look, Bitcoin, since the start of the year, is currently up, and at one point was up 94%, currently up 64, 65%. So what does that tell me? Well, many people don't care about Bitcoin anymore. And I know crypto is full of degenerates, but if you go and tell Warren Buffett could have been up 70% this year, I'm sure he'll take it. Most people, if you look at traditional stocks and shares, are not that greedy and not that degenerate, and yet they tend to make much more money than people in crypto. Why? Well, guys, if you look at this crypto bubbles chart and we look over the last year, you will see that there's been a lot of changes going on. Casper, a new coin on the block, had a phenomenal year doing a 17x. INJ has done a 3x. Optimism up 68%. You can see what's been going on. However, we dive into the most recent month, and there's other coins in there that maybe you've not heard of, maybe you have, that have been pumping this month. And in the last week or so, different coins altogether have been pumping as well. And then in the last day, Rollbit is up 5.2%. Well, what's the problem with this? Well, if you've been driving before and you have been on a motorway in the UK on a Friday afternoon and got stuck in a traffic jam that looks a bit like this, you'll probably know what I'm about to say. You know when you're like bouncing around and you see kind of like suddenly the lane on the right starts moving, so you kind of move across and you risk, crashing to get into that lane so you can move up 30 meters and then move into another lane and then hopefully move. And then, you sit in this for like an hour, and then eventually a truck that you were sat next to at the very start of this, that's just stayed in this left-hand side lane the whole way, is pretty much exactly next to you. And you realize after all that drama of like looking over your shoulder and trying to kind of sneak your way up, you're in exactly the same place that you were before. Well, what went on then? So let's take, for example, you saw Casper that had this mad run all the way up here, and then you decided, wow, this coin's pumping. Everyone else is talking about it in like the free Telegram, link down below, and everywhere else. And all these guys on YouTube are telling you that you need to get into Casper right now because it's the next best thing. And all these guys like this are feeding your confirmation bias, telling you you need to be buying Casper right now because it's the next best thing. And what do? You dive into Casper. It then starts to pull back on you. And you're like, well, I didn't really sign up for this because I want to be making my 100x this year. So what do? Well, you pull your money out of Casper and then you look for another coin that's been pumping. You pull that kind of $700 that you've got left from your initial 1,000 that you put into Casper at that point. Suddenly you then put it into Render because Render's been having a great run here, and then that kind of dips down here and your $700 then loses what, 40%, and now you're down to like $620. I think the maths is right on that. And then you see like another coin's been doing well, and then you see like Solana's been pumping, and you're like, well, maybe I should get into Solana. And then Solana kind of goes sideways for a bit, and then you take your like $640 and you put it into Solana, and it doesn't really do anything. And maybe then you take this like hit here and you fall like 30%, and now you're down to like $200 or $300, and then you're like, well, I just keep it safe, I'll put it into Bitcoin. But now you're $300 in Bitcoin, it's going to do nothing because Bitcoin is a big market cap. And yeah, if it goes up 60%, you're still way down on your original $1,000. What on earth has happened to us degenerates? Well, guys, it's because of this, something called an optimism bias. Now, we as crypto degenerates have probably been in the market before, or we've seen other people talking about crypto gains and all those massive gains they've been getting. This gives us the expectation that we should be looking for 100x, 1000x in the next bull market. And there is times that maybe you might get lucky and you might see it. But the more you chase that gain rather than just looking at simply what is going on in the market and being able to take a step back, a cool, calm moment to look, you get stuck. And because the expectation bias is that I'm just going to buy crypto now and in 2 years I can sell for 100x. Happy days. Actually, if you were to go and buy some projects right now and not look at it for the next 2 years, then maybe you've got a better chance. But the problem is, you, like me, you're a bit of a degenerate. And the reality is that you kind of start to build up because you get lucky and then suddenly you get eaten by this little fish in the pond. Do you get what I'm saying? The reality is so far different from the expectation, because your expectation will keep you thinking that, you know, the best way to find these 100x gains is to maybe stick to this way of moving. And then you panic and then you start to look for other people to tell you what to do. However, unfortunately, you will just tend to look at the videos that tell you what you think you want to hear. Now, for example, I made this video about Casper 2 weeks ago, and you can see it only got just under 7,000 views because, as you can see, I was telling people that Casper was going to go down 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, while this guy and everyone else was telling you that Casper was going to go up. Now, like 2 or 3 weeks later, they're telling you that it probably is going to start to go down. And as you can see, it's already down 17%. So all of those people telling you to get bullish and get excited were telling you in here that you should be getting bullish and excited. Now you're trapped 17% down. So if you were to look at this as a chart pattern and anticipate what might happen next, there's something else that's going to catch you out. And it's this thing called a sunk cost fallacy. Bear with me, guys. Lots of psychology stuff. And no, I'm not a psychologist. I just like to read nerdy stuff. What this is basically you've put your money into something and then it starts to go down. So you do this thing where you just bury your head in the sand like an ostrich, which ultimately gets you eaten by the lion. Do ostriches really do that? Unsure. But basically you put money into something and then you're scared to pull it out because you think, well, I'm already in it. I don't want a part of it. Even if you go and look at that Casper chart right now and you think, well, there's a good chance it's going to dump another 30 or 40%, you stick into it because you're like, well, I don't want to kind of get out of this right now. Now, I know that is in contrast to the concept of like the changing of lanes and things like that. But instead of basically identifying the top of the market and being able to say, maybe I've made a bit of a bad mistake and selling your 10% down, instead you're going to wait probably for a 40-50% down, and then you're going to go and jump ship to something else. Sunk cost fallacy is also why, you know, if you're in a relationship that you don't really enjoy, that you maybe stick in that relationship for longer than you should. Or if you're in a job you absolutely hate, you just stick in that job forever because you're like, well, I've already invested lots of time in going to university and getting that job and all this other stuff, and it would be really difficult to go and change my job and all that other stuff. That's because of this. There's also another very big problem with YouTube. There are a lot of YouTubers, including me, who do like to get good views, okay? That's kind of why I'm there. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you in order to just get good views, because I know these videos don't do as well as the other ones. But there's a really big reason they don't do as well. When you see this video on Casper and you are holding Casper tightly thinking that this is the best coin ever, and I'm not just picking on Casper. There are other coins that I've picked on at various times in the market, like XRP, like Gala, etc. If you're holding Gala or XRP or whatever coin it is at the time, you don't want to see my video or even look at my video, because not only do you want to bury your head in the sand, but what you want to do is go and find stuff that supports the belief that you have in that coin. Why do you do that? Well, because of this thing, and it's called cognitive dissonance. Why have I got a bunch of people on the piss? Well, guys, if you, like me, are partial to a beer or two or what more, okay, or whether it's cigarettes or whether it's some other vice that you have in your life, you know as well as I know that drinking is not good for you. But, you know, maybe it's fun, or maybe we try and justify it like, oh, well, if I don't drink, then it's hard for me to socialize. Or if I don't drink, then, you know, maybe I've got to spend too much time like doing something else. Or maybe if I don't drink, then I'd never meet these other people. This is basically your brain being uncomfortable with the fact that your belief and the truth don't quite match up. Your belief, which is like drinking is bad for me, and the truth of I enjoy drink kind of don't match. So what we try to do is we try and force something to kind of meet up. We make excuses for ourselves. And in crypto, this is what you do. Suddenly I look at the charts and I'm like, wow, Casper is down from this area, but I don't want to sell because I'm in the sunk cost fallacy bit, okay, where I don't want to sell because I'm already in the game. What's the worst that could happen? I then do this. I go and I search for Casper and I'm like, I'm looking for a video somewhere that's going to tell me that Casper's going to go up. I'm looking down, Casper price prediction, lots of money. I'm going to click on this video and I'm going to like watch him, and hopefully he's going to tell me at some point that Casper's going to make me loads and loads of money. I'm not knocking on this guy, whoever he is, but like, you get my point. Another problem is as well with YouTube Shorts is that they don't really tell you when they're made. Maybe you made this video like a month ago or something, I don't know. So you're like, by this point, like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, what on earth am I going to do? Because seems like every YouTuber's just chasing views and never going to tell me the truth. Well, obviously, guys, because if you subscribe to my channel, you'll know that I hopefully will tell you at least my thoughts or the truth at some point. This was Veracity 6 days ago, where you can see it was at the time priced around 0065, and I was basically telling you it was going to pull back to this green zone down here. See the big moves in 4 hours. We pumped 50. And you can see that even though lots of people were like trying to get this confirmation bias and stuff for me to feed them, I basically told them that it was at least going to be pulling back to this area, potentially going to be pulling back even further. And as you can see, that video I made was about here. You can see it went a little bit further and then it's pulled back. And since it's pulled back from the time I made that video, it's now currently 28%. It was at 1.31% down from there. So obviously, yeah, guys, you can trust me. But what on earth do we do right now? We need to understand a couple of bits and pieces. First things first, we need to understand where we are or where we might be in regards to a crypto bull market. As you know, next year is the halving, which, as I pointed out yesterday, having watched a lot of Raoul Pal recently, is very interesting, that basically in 2008, the US government wrote off interest rates, which meant that riskier assets such as crypto, etc., basically became like kind of bullish around these points. And it's a 4-year cycle where you kind of go from like highs and lows and that kind of stuff. That all lines up with the halving, so just use the halving. Next year is the halving. Everyone is anticipating a very big bull market in 2024 to 2025. Now, my argument right now is because everyone's anticipating it, maybe it comes earlier or maybe it comes later. And then the counter argument is that no, Bitcoin is going to go further down and drag everything else with it. Now, here's two scenarios. Bitcoin right now does what it did last time it broke from one area like this, and it pumps like this, and it goes all the way up here. Or Bitcoin rolls over, black swan event, blah, 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 goes down, puts in a new low, maybe even goes down to 10K. Now, I hear what you're about to say. Those of you who are not so experienced will be like, well, what's the point in watching you if you can't tell me where it's going? The answer there is that no one can tell you where it's going, but someone might tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you that no one knows for sure where it's going. I personally believe, because everyone and the news and everything is so negative, and the fact that everyone's waiting to buy lower, the chances are you're not going to get that chance. Bitcoin will rip up to somewhere like 40K and leave everyone for dead. But if it does this, and I'm buying accordingly, but if I'm wrong, what's the outcome? Well, it means that maybe it takes 6 months down at this sort of level to recover. And if you're talking about the altcoins and this happens, scenario B, let's call it, then we're going to be in a world of pain, but we're not. As long as the coins and things that you're buying have the potential to save themselves and survive, even if the worst case in crypto happens for the next 6 months to the next year. So can I sit and risk being down 50% comfortably and not get upset because I can't pay my rent and I can't eat and I can't do whatever else it is that I need to do? Then yeah, I'm all right with it. And maybe if I still have good income, then I can continue to buy if this scenario B plays out. But if, however, I'm in the camp of 100% this is going to happen, and I don't buy anything, and suddenly Bitcoin, and I wake up tomorrow and it's up at 34K and it continues to ramp, and I keep thinking, well, don't worry, it's going to roll over, it's going to roll over. And then one day you look and Bitcoin's at like 56K and the whole market's up like 400, 500%. I ask myself, can I live with that? Well, the answer is no. So effectively, my strategy right now is to dollar cost averages and buy into solid crypto projects. But not just every crypto project that's solid, because there's tons of them, guys, tons of them that are going to see good return on investment. But I need to be looking for a decent narrative, a good story, a good price, and a good community. You could maybe throw in there the good team, good tokenomics, which is also important. What do I mean by narrative? Well, simply, guys, a narrative might be DeFi, decentralized finance. Another narrative might be GameFi. So if I think GameFi is going to do really well, then I'll look for a coin within the gaming area. I don't want too much exposure to any one narrative. Okay, so maybe it's worth having one coin within gaming, one coin within DeFi, one like layer one whatever. Okay, next one, story. What do I mean by the story? Well, the story means how easily it can captivate people's attention. So, for example, if we think about Casper, which has quite a good story in that it was featured on the original Ethereum white paper, it's a pretty good story. It apparently had a fair launch, and lots of people love Casper because it doesn't have the potential for loads of venture capital to come in and sell it off, at least so the story says. And whether it's a good price. Casper right now, not the best price because it's very high in terms of price. Maybe it's not a good one for me to be getting into right this second. Community, does it have a big community of excited people driving it forward? Apparently yes, because every time I make a video on Casper pulling back, I get absolutely destroyed by the Little Moon Boy community behind Casper. So I'll quickly share with you 3 or 4 coins that I think are very much worth knowing, and if you subscribed you probably already know that I'm going to go with. But GameFi is very much an important area to be paying attention to. Why is it so important? Gaming and GameFi has the ability to bring people into cryptocurrency who don't care about trading or care about crypto at all. That's where you get mass adoption, okay? People who start to play video games and then realize they can get cash rewards and they don't really understand because it's through blockchain and whatever, and they don't care, but will still just want to play a video game. So where can we look? Well, Gala, guys. Gala is still a phenomenal project, and it had recently some very bad press and very bad news about it because like the team kind of like disbanded, or they're trying to sue each other and all this bad stuff. That, for me, is something I like, okay? I like it when lots of people think that a project is crap, because that's where you're going to see the best gains, because that means that the price of the project is currently sat at a level that just getting back to previous highs, you're going to see a 65x. Gala still has and does everything that it did that got it to this price point in the past, okay? Yeah, maybe the tokenomics not amazing, but yeah, they're starting to work on burning them. They're starting to kind of build the community. Guys, I still think Gala is a very interesting and good project. Does it have the ability to get back here? Who knows? But it's not a bad option. Another one for gaming people will be shouting about is games for a living, because it fulfills lots of the other parts that I talked about. But look at it. It's up. Don't get into projects that are already like up. How far is it up this year? It's up 5x. Will it have a good pullback? Potentially, if it gets a good pullback to an area like this, down here, 1.4 cents, maybe I want to get into it. But right now, if I hadn't already got exposure, I wouldn't be getting into games for a living. Now, obviously, you can think of metaverse and gaming. You can get into sandbox. You can think of another few. Other ones to pay attention to are kind of like one-of-a-kinds, crypto projects that do something different from how every other crypto project works. Render is a very interesting project. And why? Because it does something different from everyone else. Render basically offers the ability to outsource rendering. This saves lots of money, saves lots of time. It means you can use the blockchain, and it's all done through the blockchain, while there are others, competitors that are doing it through cloud services and things like this. This is a slightly different concept and is the first of its kind in cryptocurrency. It's worth going and researching, but I think it's already, as you can see, capturing people's imagination. It has had this decent pullback over the last few months, down 53%. You can see it's starting to pump again. Is it a reasonable time to buy? Well, you know, personally, Render anywhere in here looks good. Although you could see maybe a shoulder, could see a head, could see another shoulder. Maybe you see these low levels again. Maybe you don't. It's up to you, okay? But Render right now is already having a good pullback. It fulfills lots of the other things that I've talked about today. Now, if you watched my video yesterday, you'll understand I'm very, very bullish on ICP because Internet Computer is already providing front-end, back-end, fully decentralized applications, okay? Nothing out there is even anywhere near as advanced as what ICP has done and will continue to be doing in the future. And yet, because of all the bad press and because of the way their launch happened that was absolutely horrendous, the price is currently $2.9, and the launch a couple of years ago was something like, you know, $400, and then it rallied because of FTX and had this like horrendous, you know, spike towards the upside that everyone just thought it was a scam. Because everyone thinks it's a scam, maybe, you know, the way it was launched was pretty bad, but actually, you know, what they're really doing, the team and everything behind it, ICP is an absolute winner. And you can see right now it's sat at this level, struggling to put its head above water. Eventually, when the crypto market comes good and we see Bitcoin bursting towards the upside, which will happen at some point, I still feel it's going to happen very soon, ICP it will easily, very quickly get back to these sort of levels. That's a 200% move. And more realistically, you know, a spike towards this sort of level up here that we saw after this kind of initial crash, you can see ICP getting up to what? 26x. Now, again, another project that's very exciting, capturing lots of people's attention, is Veracity. And it's in an area that's going to be highly important going forward into Web3, which is basically proof of advertising, that kind of stuff. Loads of other bits and pieces. Veracity, I've got my eye on. And yeah, we had a big spike up here. Now we've seen a pullback. I do think that maybe we'll just retest this pattern, maybe come down another 20%. If we do, happy days. But Veracity, again, has the ability to pull out and move back to all-time highs at 18x, potentially much, much higher than that. Now, you'll notice that I'm not telling you about 100x's and 1000x's, because really, if you're smart, you should only be chasing 10x's or 20x's right now in the market, because you can potentially see your 10x's in the next 12 months. And from those 10x's, you will have your shot at pulling out a bit of money and putting it into something that could see 100x, maybe even 1000x. But you need to downplay your optimism. Be more regulated in your emotions, calm down, and then you can do things much more smartly. And if you want to get ahead of the game and know exactly when to buy and sell various cryptocurrencies, then you can jump into the Inner Circle Discord, where I basically make calls like this one on Casper and various others on Bitcoin. Not just that, you've got a bunch of other experts sharing their technical analysis on what they're doing all the time in trading. You can find out more about various NFTs and gaming that's going on in here. You can chat with other crypto enthusiasts around the world and learn everything to do with cryptocurrency. And maybe you can be like this guy who's up over $1,200 in just 7 days and saying thank you for creating the community so I could learn from everyone else. Not just that, you can get involved in pre-sales for pre-ICO projects. So many things. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.